محمد وآل محمد صلوات. Brothers and sisters, we are going to begin the program with the recitation of the Holy Quran by Zakaria Muhammad. Please welcome him with a loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. من جاء بالحسنة فله أشر أمثالها ومن جاء بالسيئة فلا يجزى إلا مثلها وهم لا يظلمون. قل إنني هداني ربي إلى صراط مستقيم دينا قيما ملة إبراهيم حنيفا وما كان من المشركين. قل إن صلاتي ونسكي ومحياي ومماتي لله رب العالمين لا شريك له وبذلك أمرت وأنا أول المسلمين. قل أغير الله أبغي ربا وهو رب كل شيء ولا تكسب كل نفس إلا عليها ولا تزر وازرة وزر أخرى ثم إلى ربكم مرجعكم فينبئكم بما كنتم فيه تختلفون. وهو الذي جعلكم خلائف الأرض ورفع بعضكم فوق بعض درجات ليبلوكم فيما آتاكم إن ربك سريع العقاب وإنه لغفور رحيم. صدق الله العلي العظيم.
Thank you very much for that beautiful recitation and excellent introduction to the next part of the program, which is the main talk by Haider Sandouk and Sayyid Jalal Masoomi, which is on the link between musical scales, maqamaat, and Quran recitation. Please welcome them with a loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Just as a note, the talk today will include the use of the oud to showcase maqamaat, and which is used in Quranic and Islamic recitations. Brothers and sisters, I'm sure that you know both of these speakers very well. Haider Sandouk is a petroleum engineer, now a property developer who has played and studied Arabic music for 13 years. He's trying to show the community the link between Arabic music scales and that which is used in Quran recitation. He's joined by Sayyid Jalal Masoomi, who I'm sure you all know very well as well. He is a renowned Quran reciter, a public figure, and has been the judge of international competitions and talent shows, including the Shia Voice and Shia's Got Talent. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Is the mic working? This one is on? This is on?
Yeah. It's okay, we'll switch it on when you...
Okay, no. Before we start, can we get a loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad? Firstly, assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. I'd like to start by saying thank you to everybody who managed to make it here in person and everybody who's watching us online. I know it's a Friday evening and everyone has work or other commitments, so I appreciate it. And inshallah, by the end of this talk, you would have found a lot of useful information. I'm going to start by quickly introducing myself. So my name is Haider Sandouk. Like they said in the introduction, I'm a petroleum engineer by degree. I used to work in the oil and gas industry. I'm a full-time property developer at the moment, but I'm a huge lover of music, especially Arabic music, which you might be now thinking, what's the link with Quran and religion? But inshallah, today that will be a little bit clearer. I'm going to pass over to Sayyid Jalal to introduce himself, although he doesn't need an introduction. MashaAllah, Sayyid Jalal is very well known in the community.
Habibi, thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Sisters and brothers, first of all, I take this opportunity to send our condolences to Imam of our time, Imam Mahdi Ajjalallahu ta'ala farajahu sharif, on the occasion of the martyrdom of our mother, Lady Fatimatu Zahra salamullah alayha, and as well the current occasion, the current catastrophe is happening in the Middle East. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala elevate the maqam of shuhada, and our role model is, especially for the ladies, Lady Fatima Zahra salamullah alayha, and as well Lady Zainab salamullah alayha, as she said when Yazid asked her, what did you see in the event of Karbala? But Lady replied, وَمَا رَأَيْتُ إِلَّا جَمِيلًا. Anything we are seeing now is the beauty. And definitely this beauty will carry on until the day of judgment. It's a great opportunity to again be at the service of this community. To be honest with you, I personally am proud to be with Khoja community, and especially Salam Center, because of the programs they have, because the open-minded they are. May Allah elevate your maqam, may Allah increase your, inshallah, rewards in this world and hereafter, inshallah, with Sayyid Haider Sandouk, inshallah. We will be tonight at your service. You will, as I previously mentioned about the musical aspect of the Holy Quran, maqamaat, and inshallah, tonight you will hear the maqamaat in two ways. By the words and by the sounds of the chords, which inshallah Haider Sandouk will play, and as well by my musical word and chords, inshallah, I will recite those as well, inshallah. So I'll pass again to Sayyid Haider Sandouk, and inshallah he can start his inshallah lecture. Thank you very much.
Ahsan Sayyidina. So the title, or the first slide we're going to discuss, is Islam and music in the same sentence. Are they mutually exclusive, and can they not coexist together? Now, the whole reason for this whole talk that we're holding today is actually heavily inspired by my mother, who is with us here today. And the reason for this is when I first started playing the oud, which is the instrument here that you can see on my right-hand side, 13 years ago, I was brought up, like the slide shows, Islam in one section and music in another. Until eventually when I started learning maqamaat and identifying them by ear, and as similarly with a lot of you maybe at home, my mother likes to play Quran a lot, especially on Friday. And then one day it just clicked with me, and I started identifying, oh, this reciter is reading in this maqam and that maqam. And I remember very distinctly coming to my mother and telling her, Mama, this reciter is reading in these maqamat, the same ones that I studied in music. And she's like, no, Habibi, this is music, this is Quran. Don't mix the two together, please. But I was adamant, and the turning point, and I'll never forget, was when my mom decided to sit me down and said, I'm going to test you. So she took her phone out and played maybe Min Shawi or Abdul Basit in certain maqams, Nahawand or these, and said, what's this maqam? And I told her this. And she goes, okay. This one. And when she saw they were all correct, I told her, Mama, what I'm learning is identical to the Quran. And it made me really interested. And funnily enough, over the last 13 years, the more I've delved deeper into music, the closer it's brought me to religion. And for some of you here, you might think that's a crazy statement, but bear with me, hang tight, and you will understand the link. So firstly, before I go further, we need to discuss what is music in the first place. So dictionary.com defines it as an art of sound and time that expresses ideas and emotions in significant forms through the elements of rhythm, melody, harmony, and color. Now, I know there's going to be a lot of technical words, but I'm here to break it down for you and make it very easy. So firstly, what is art? Art is a form of expression. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us emotions and the ability to express these emotions. So people express that through either music or painting or photography or maybe even acts of service for the community or many different kind of things. But that's the ability that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us. So expression is expressing either an idea or emotions. So whether it's a painting talking about an idea or a concept, or it's talking about happiness or sadness or longing or all these emotions that we feel as human beings, that's the idea of expression. Rhythm is very simple, it's just a beat. The difference between melody and harmony, this is something that maybe you guys hear floating around, and those of you maybe don't have technical knowledge. A melody is a note sequence where you've got multiple notes being played together, it's a melody. And a harmony is when you play notes at the same time. So think of like piano, when you see people playing on the piano and they've got two hands and they're playing like this. This is harmony, and melody is when you're playing notes along. Cool story, bro, but how does this link to Islam? So who here has heard the magic word maqam or maqamaat? Who's heard of the word? Just a show of hands. Okay, a fair few of you, very good. But how many of you know what it means, what it actually means? Great, that's what I wanted to see. Okay, one person. Okay, I can live with one. Before I move forward, there's a picture on the bottom right-hand side. Who can tell me what that is and where that is? Ahsantum, Maqam Ibrahim. See the word Maqam Ibrahim. So what is the word Maqam? Maqam means a place, designated place. This is why this is called Maqam Ibrahim. And this is going to be relevant in the dissection of what the word actually means. So what are maqams when we're talking about music or Quran? What does it actually mean? We've heard it. So the Arabic maqam, and the plural is maqamat, more than one maqam, is a system of scales, modulation possibilities that together form a rich melodic framework and artistic tradition. A lot of mumbo jumbo, which we'll break down very quickly now. So a scale is a series of 7 notes. The first 4 are called miftah or key. Miftah is key in Arabic. And the last 3 we call jins, and the plural is ajnas. So for all you maths lovers, there's a little short equation here at the bottom. The miftah key plus the jins gives us the maqam. The first 4 notes are the identifying maqam. And again, this will be clear when Sayyid Jalal gets involved very shortly. But ultimately, it's the first 4 notes of any scale or maqam is the identifier. That's how we know this is this maqam, this is that maqam. And the last 3 notes is the jins, which can change and will give you a different maqam. Does that make sense? Okay. I'm going to do a little short test throughout to see who's been following or not. So the maqam gets its intervals, melodic behavior, and overall mood from these constituent ajnas. The key point that I want everyone to take from this slide is that each maqam invokes a separate emotion, which we'll go through, which is the beauty of the maqam system. And this is why this is used in music and also in Quran recitation. So each specific maqam has its own mood or emotion that it evokes. So who uses this maqam modal system? Where in certain parts of the world is it used? So I've highlighted here, it's used predominantly in North Africa, in the Middle Eastern region, and Central Asia. Although in most Muslim populated countries, it's used for Quran recitation. But I'm speaking here from a cultural and musical point of view. So like if you see in places like India, they use the raga system. So if you're familiar with raga is very similar to what's used in the Middle East with the maqam system. There's also other names I've put here on the top left, so shesh maqam, destgam, or mugam in different countries, but ultimately it's the same thing. So there are 8 main maqams that we use in both music and Quran recitation, and I've put them here. And again, I will dissect for you to you know, make it a little bit clearer for everybody. So there are 4 with quarter tones and 4 without quarter tones. Some of you might be asking, what is a quarter tone? And it's an example I really like to use because it's very easy. If you guys have seen a piano, you've seen there's white and black keys, yes? So imagine a quarter tone would be in between the black and white key. Quarter tones is what makes Arabic music distinct. The quarter tone is when you hear it, you know you're listening to Arabic music. That's unique to that part of the world. And the non-quarter tone doesn't use this. So the non-quarter tone maqams are Ajam, Nahawand, Hijaz, and Kurd. And the quarter tone maqams are Rast, Bayyati, Sabaa, and Segah. A lot of Western instruments cannot play the quarter tones, like the piano, like the guitar, because the guitar, if you've seen, there's these little metal bars or frets that run across the neck. That is where you could play the quarter tone. Fretless instruments like the violin can play quarter tones. So typically in Western music, they predominantly use only 2 maqams, which are Ajam and Nahawand. So Ajam would be the major scale, for those of you who have any Western musical background, and Nahawand would be the minor scale. So in the West, they mainly use 2, and mashallah, we have 8. And it gets even deeper, but I'm trying to keep this lecture very light, but it's actually a lot more than 8, but it's the 8 are the root or the main ones. And we'll break these down and go into a little bit more detail. So, the maqam name origins. So Arabic theory developed under the influence of Persian culture. So ultimately, these scales were scattered around. They were not really organized. They were not really put in an academic way. And the first people who really organized this was the Persians. And they took these 8 maqams and they named them in Farsi from 1 to 8. Yakga, Duga, Segah, Charga, Penjga, Sheshga, so forth, up to 8. And then they became a lot more organized under the Abbasid period, or the Islamic Golden Age, where they were able to develop these a lot further, and a lot of the names changed. However, till today, the Maqam Segah is, we still use that word. Wherever you are in the Middle East, we still say Maqam Segah is the 3rd maqam because it starts from the 3rd note, or the quarter tone. Yeah. The history of maqam in Islam. So not all of these were actually around during the time of our Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Or in the form that we know today. So after the development, like I said, during the Islamic Golden Age, and they were organized by the Persians, they were standardized 100 years ago. So in 1920, there was actually a conference in Cairo where every Arab country sent a delegation of musicians to meet in Cairo and standardize Arabic music to make sure the names are the same, the intervals between each notes are the same, so that a musician from Cairo could go to Baghdad and they would be able to play with any band, and a musician from Morocco could go to Syria and it would be the same, because there were slight differences in how things are played and names and stuff. So for the last 100 years, wherever you go in the Middle East, it's been standardized, and they've adopted Western notation systems, but we don't use the A, B, C, D. We use the Italian opera style of do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, si, do. That's what's used in Arabic music. So like I said earlier, each maqam involves an emotion, and it is these emotions that cause a music listener to say Allah, the Arabic music to say Allah, but also the Quran listener to say Allah. Do you never ask yourself why when there is somebody reciting Quran, the audience will reply Allah? The same thing when you hear a classical Arabic singer recite or sing, the audience will also say Allah out of beauty, because it touches the soul. Yeah. So the effect of the maqams are so heavy on the heart and soul that they cause you to really feel the words. And obviously there is nothing greater than the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is why true Arabic music is very moving, and how also using the power of maqams to recite the most perfect words on earth the Holy Quran, allows the listener to feel the words and its impact. Now I'm going to start by going through the maqamat. So, like Sayyid said earlier, I'm going to play a short improvisation on each maqam and describe it beforehand. And then I'll get Sayyid to recite on the exact same scale the Holy Quran. So the first maqam I'm going to start with is Maqam Ajam, which, like I said, is the major scale in Western music. Maqam Ajam gives us feelings of strength, majestic, and very cheerful. So in a nutshell, it's a very happy, uplifting maqam. So an example I put here that's quite popular, I'm sure you guys know it, is, for example, Mary Had a Little Lamb. That's the popular children's nursery rhyme. That would be on Maqam Ajam. And I put here a note at the bottom. If you type any of these scales names into YouTube, you will get videos of either Quran reciters reciting in that scale, or musicians playing on that scale. And you can try that for yourself and see. So I'm going to start now with the Maqam Ajam, inshallah. Just want to make sure this microphone is on. Can you guys hear okay, yeah? So that was Maqam Ajam, and I hope you got the sense of that uplifting, happy kind of vibe, if you like. And identical what I've just played on that scale, I'll pass over to Sayyid Jalal Masoomi, who'll give you an example on the Holy Quran, and try and see if you get that same energy or the same vibe of the positivity from Maqam Ajam, inshallah.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم أعطيناك الكوثر فصل لربك وانحر إن شانئك هو الأبتر صدق الله العلي العظيم ربنا إننا سمعنا مناديا ينادي للإيمان أن آمنوا بربكم فآمنا ربنا فاغفر لنا ذنوبنا وكفر عنا سيئاتنا وتوفنا مع الأبرار. So I recited this part, the last part, for dua, because mainly Maqam Al-Ajam in Quran, mainly we recite it in dua. And Maqam Al-Ajam, normally, if you have heard the national anthem of your country or here, it is mainly in Maqam Al-Ajam, mainly. Like, for example, at the end of the national anthem here, he used to say, God save the Queen, but now we say, God save the King. That's the last part is as well, Ajam. And as well as Sayyid mentioned, the nursery rhymes, the majority of the nursery rhymes is in Maqam Ajam because it is easy as well. It is the main note. It's easy because it doesn't have quarter tone, as Sayyid mentioned. It's easy forward, 1 1 half, 1 1 1 1 half. That is the code of this maqam. And it is very happy occasion. And as well we do it for mainly for dua. Ahsantum, Sayyidina.
I think also the takbirat that we do.
Yes.
If you want to give an example on Maqam Ajam, when we do the takbirat of Eid, of the Hijaz.
Ahsantum. Even if we normally we recite Salat al-Eid, the takbir, the dua. اللهم أهل الكبرياء والعظمة وأهل الجود والجبروت وأهل العفو والرحمة. And as well as you mentioned, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, La ilaha illallah, Wallahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Walillahi alhamd, Alhamdulillahi ala ma hadana. وله الشكر على ما أولانا. الله أكبر الله أكبر. Now you are getting ready for the Salat al-Eid inshallah, okay?
Ahsan Sayyid, Barakallah Bik. So you guys, did you feel what I was talking about, the happiness from Maqam al-Ajam? And this is why it's actually so entwined in our daily lives as Muslimin, because the takbirat of the salah is for Salat al-Eid is after the Hujjaj have come back from Hajj. It's a time of celebration, it's a time of happiness. So they decide to use Maqam Ajam to invoke that emotion of happiness using this scale. So that's Maqam Ajam. The second maqam we move on to is Maqam Nahawand. So Maqam Nahawand, which is the minor scale in Western music, gives us feelings of drama and emotional extremes. It can be sad, it can be melancholic. So for example, I've put here like the Harry Potter theme tune. I'm just trying to put stuff that probably everybody knows. And an example of an Arabic song. So I'll give you guys the scale. I'll try and play a little bit for you, and similarly we'll do the same thing. So this would be the scale for Maqam Nahawand. So this would be Maqam Nahawand. And again, I don't know if you got the vibe. I'm trying to play long enough for you to get the feeling or the vibe, so you feel it's a bit, you know, can be a little bit somber, a little bit emotional. This maqam is very popular with non-Arabic listeners, especially in the Quran. And it's where you see most of the people a lot more, you know, can feel it a little bit more. So I had a lot of Quran reciters from Egypt. When I've been with them, they say to me, wherever I go in Europe or in America, I get asked for Maqam Nahawand a lot, or I feel the audiences, the non-Arab audiences, enjoy listening to Maqam Nahawand. So I'll pass over to Sayyid to show you some examples on this maqam, inshallah.
Thank you very much, Sayyid Al-Aziz. As Sayyid mentioned, many people, they like this maqam because in the maqamat, this maqam is called Malikul Maqamat because it's very beautiful. Malikul Maqamat is Maqam Nahawand. Of course, the Maqam Rast is Abul Maqamat, the father of melodies, inshallah. Sayyid will do that as well. So Maqam Nahawand is very related to your community, to the Khoja community, because it's Nahawand, mainly recited, mainly sang in Indo-Pak area. If you have seen many Indian films, so definitely you'll remember Maqam Nahawand. I don't know, you watch Indian films or no, especially those that say, Dil tu pagal hai, dil diwana hai. This stuff all is Nahawand. Now we go for Quran, inshallah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إنا أعطيناك الكوثر فصل لربك وانحر إن شانئك هو الأبتر إنا أعطيناك الكوثر فصل لربك وانحر إن شانئك هو الأبتر فصل لربك وانحر إن شانئك هو الأبتر صدق الله العلي العظيم الليل ليلة القدر أجمل ليالي العمر الليل ليلة القدر أجمل ليالي العمر كونوا توابين كونوا أوابين كونوا توابين كونوا أوابين عسى ولعل رب يتجلى عسى ولعل رب يتجلى ليلى 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 يا مؤمنين. That was Maqam Nahawand in Surah Al-Kawthar. The reason I'm reciting all the maqamat in Surah Al-Kawthar is because of the lady Fatima al-Zahra, Salamullah alayha, our mother, and as well one nasheed or one ibtihal in that maqam, inshallah. I pass to Sayyid, inshallah. Jazakallah.
Ahsan, Sayyidina, ahsan. I feel like I don't want to play anymore, I just want to listen. So again, I hope you guys got that feeling from Maqam Nahawand, and Sayyid did a very beautiful job of showing that. Our third maqam is an interesting one. It's Maqam Hijaz. So this is actually used sometimes in the West, and it's called the gypsy scale. And they use this scale when you watch any Hollywood movie and there's a scene of in the desert. And it's like, da, 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 you know, stuff like that. That is Maqam Hijaz, which I'll play now. And they try to make it very Arabic-y sounding. That's the Maqam Hijaz. When you always hear that Arabic sounding thing in Western movies, this is the scale that they use, Maqam Hijaz. It's also, I put here, it's very popular in Adhan, which I will get Sayyid maybe to show us a small example. And it's also used sometimes in the reading of the Maqtal of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, because Maqam Hijaz can give a sense of sadness if recited in a certain way, but it's mainly a maqam of longing, solitude, mysticism, the desert, this kind of vibe. So again, I'll play the scale and I'll give you a short example, inshallah. So this would be the scale going up and down, ascending and descending. That's a short example of Maqam Hijaz, and you got that idea that I was talking to you guys about. So I'll pass over to Sayyid Jalal, inshallah. It would be nice to, if you'd like to start with Quran or Adhan, whatever, but it would be a good idea, which is why also as a side point, I'll come on to some of the later scales, but Maqam Hijaz, for example, you see it's quite popular for Salat al-Maghrib, because the sun is setting, it's becoming, you know, darker, the day is over, so it gives that energy. And I'll give the popular maqam for Fajr and these later on, we've not covered them yet. But Sayyid will show you an example. And it's one of the most popular adhans that they do on this maqam.
As Sayyid mentioned, Maqam al-Hijaz. So Hijaz, you know where is that? Hijaz is an area. Of course, I personally, I don't say Saudi Arabia, I call it Hijaz, because that area or the place, the country is Hijaz, not Saudi Arabia. And as well the area of actually Medina and Mecca, so this area is called Hijaz. As Sayyid mentioned, when we hear the Maqam al-Hijaz, we feel desert, sand, tent, those areas. If you have seen the film of Risala, the message, all the theme of this film is in Maqam al-Hijaz. Even the whistling, the old parts. Of course, when it's becoming a bit fast, it goes to mix with Maqam Segah, becomes Maqam Huzam. But mainly the theme of the film Al-Risala is in Maqam al-Hijaz. And as well, Maqam Hijaz, we use it for calling someone. When you call someone, even in natural, Muhammad, come here, it is Hijaz. And that is the reason when we see call for prayers, we use Maqam al-Hijaz. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. This is Maqam al-Hijaz. So you call for prayers. And in Quran, of course, many verses normally about hamd of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And when you call the actually audience to the religion of the Holy Islam, we usually recite in Maqam al-Hijaz. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إنا أعطيناك الكوثر فصل لربك وانحر إن شانئك هو الأبتر إنا أعطيناك الكوثر فصل لربك وانحر إن شانئك هو الأبتر صدق الله العلي العظيم لبيك لبيك اللهم لبيك 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 اللهم لبيك لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك إن الحمد والنعمة لك والملك لا شريك لك لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك. That was the video clip we did for Hajj, when you normally go to this holy trip, inshallah. So you can listen this, and of course that is the reply, of course, because you reply to the call of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is the beauty of Maqam Al-Hijaz.
Ahsan Sayyidina. So I hope you guys are starting to see a pattern here, that each of these scales so far and the ones to come all, like I said, invoke an emotion. So it wouldn't make sense when you're reciting Quran to read some verses that talk about hellfire and sadness in Maqam Ajam, right or wrong? And ones that are, talking about happy things, to use sada maqams. So even the Quran reciter himself, when he's reciting, he knows what the topic in the Quran or even the verses are talking about, and translates that using the correct maqam. So it's not just random, you just pick it up. I'm talking about experienced Quran reciters. They don't just pick it up and read whatever they feel like. There is an intelligence behind it. So this is why I feel like a lot of people don't understand the art of Quran recitation. There's a lot of intellect behind it. It's more than just having a voice. It's about having the theory and the knowledge and the emotion to feel what you are reciting and to translate it properly, so that the listener can feel what you are reciting or what you are playing, in my case. So this is the last of the 4 non-quarter tone maqams. It's called Maqam Kurd. In the Western world, it's called Phrygian or the Spanish Gypsy scale. Maqam Kurd gives us feelings of freedom, romance, gentleness. I put a couple of examples here. So very rightly so, Sayyid said that most national anthems are on Maqam Ajam, which is 100% correct. One example that breaks this is actually the national anthem of Iraq, which by itself is originally a Palestinian freedom song called Mawtani. That's on this scale, Maqam al-Kurd, which again I'll show you an example. And this scale is very heavily used in Spanish flamenco music in the south of Spain. Because as you guys know through history, Spain and Portugal in these areas were part of the Arab world, and they were influenced heavily by Arabic culture and Arabic language. So in their traditional music, they use this scale that originates from the Middle East till today. So if you see these flamenco dances and flamenco Spanish music, it uses this. And still, when you hear them singing and dancing and clapping, they say ole. For those of you who watch La Liga and football, ole, and the word ole originates from Allah. The origin of the word ole actually is Allah, because the Spanish got that from the Arabs, that when they hear or see something beautiful, we say Allah. So the Spanish till today, when somebody nutmegs somebody in football, they say ole, or you know, things like that. Or similarly in flamenco music, say it. So I'm going to play you the scale, give you a small example from Arabic style. I'm going to play you a little bit of Multani and give you the same scale, how if I play it in a certain way can give you a Spanish kind of style. And then I'll pass over to say it, inshallah. So Maqam al-Kurd, also Maqam al-Kurd, as a side note, 90% of Arabic pop music, they use this maqam. This is the scale of most pop songs are on this, as a side note. But anyways, so I'll give you the scale of Kurd, which goes like this, ascending and descending. This is Maqam al-Kurd. I'll give you a short Multani, for those of you who know it, which is the Iraqi national anthem, which goes like this. Of that. And finally, the flamenco that I was talking to you about. Everything I'm playing, I'm using the same 7 notes that I spoke about in the beginning, how each maqam is comprised of these 7 notes, yeah? I've not changed anything. So again, I'm gonna give you an example of a flamenco Spanish vibe, and I've not changed anything at all. But you'll see, just by the way I put the notes together, it gives you a completely different feel. Did you guys get the gist, right? And this is the crazy thing. I've not done anything different. It's the same scale. What Sayyid is going to recite is identical the same. So next time if you ever hear flamenco or see flamenco, it's exactly the same that's used in Arabic. It's exactly the same scale, I'm talking, not about the topic, exactly the same scale that Sayyid's about to recite in. So I'll pass over to you, Senor Sayyid.
Muchas gracias. So I might recite something in Spanish as well in the flamenco way, but after the recitation of the Holy Quran, inshallah. So Maqam Kurd is a really beautiful maqam. Of course, the Kurd is actually related as well to a tribe of Kurdish. Kurd, you have this Kurd or Kurdish area in 4 countries. In Iraq, we have Kurdish, we have in Iran, and we have in Turkey, and we have in Syria. And these people as well, they are really, they are very passionate of the music. Whenever I travel, for example, when I was in Iran, I used to see the Kurdish people, always they used to have their deaf and they used to play music. So Maqam Kurd, as Sayyid mentioned, in my teaching, when I teach my students, I always mention that Maqam Kurd, I use pink color for Maqam Kurd, because that is girlish. It is very nice. It is very romantic. And as well, the Who Is She, which I did for Lady Fatima al-Zahra, salamullah alayha, I did it in Maqam Kurd. So let's go for Quran, and then inshallah a bit of Who Is She, and then inshallah a bit of Spanish inshallah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إنا أعطيناك الكوثر فصل لربك وانحر إن شانئك هو الأبتر إنا أعطيناك الكوثر فصل لربك وانحر إن شانئك هو الأبتر صدق الله العلي العظيم. So that was Quran, and the nasheed which I did, alhamdulillah, that was for Lady Fatima al-Zahra. The poetry is very famous, this poetry. And I'm sure the people from India and Pakistan, they know this poet, the poet of this poetry, Allama Iqbal Lahori. You know, even Egyptian, they recite this beautiful poetry, Hiya bintu man. I wanted to, I don't know if I took, I don't know, Sayyid Haider, I mentioned this to you, I think at that time, I don't know if I was mentioning this to you. I wanted to do this, Who Is She, in Maqam Hijaz, Turkey, because I want to do it for Fatimiyya, these days and nights. But I went to the studio with brother Ahmed Sharif. I said, Ahmed Sharif, I want to do this in Fatimiyya. We have to finish it as quickly as possible. And he said, we don't have time because I cannot finish for you in 1 week. And straight away in the studio, I changed it to Maqam al-Kurd. Because actually it was like this. Hiya bintu man. That is Hijaz, Turkey. But I changed it straight away for Maqam Kurd. Hiya bintu man هي زوج من هي أم من هي أم من نسب المسيح بنى لمريم سيرة بقيت على طول المدى ذكراها هي بنت من هي زوج من هي أم من هي أم من Un amor viví llorando y me decía las palabras de Dios llorando por ti es un amor vivió llorando y me decía las palabras de Dios, las palabras de Dios.
Muchas gracias.
De nada, Señor.
SubhanAllah, it's amazing that when I started researching this stuff, you see the overlap of cultures, how with the Middle Eastern Arab culture, with Spanish till today, and it all uses this scale. So now I've finished the four that don't have the quarter tones. Now move on to the quarter tone ones, and those who are not used to listening to quarter tone, especially Western ears, it sounds out of tune to them. So this is now where we're going to the very, we say Sharqi maqams, or the very Arabic sounding maqams. This is one of my favorites, I'd say, Maqam Rast, which is nicknamed the Sheikh of Maqamaat, or like rightly say it said, the King of Maqamaat. So Maqam Rast gives us feeling of masculinity, love, pride, power. It's a very powerful maqam. It's used frequently in religious music. It's used a lot in Sufi music. So a lot of the Sufi music, even Qawali sometimes, Sami Yusuf uses a lot of Maqam Rast, for example. And this one is very popular with adhan also, but more for adhan al-fajr, because it's powerful. It's to wake you up. You know, قُومُوا مِنَ النَّوْمِ, and go and do your wudu and do your salat al-fajr. So this is used to kind of wake you up, rather than the Hijaz that we heard was a bit more cool, chill, you know, relaxed, you know, the sun is setting. This is more powerful. So again, I'll get Sayyid to give you a quick example on that, and I'll play you a little bit of Maqam Rast, inshallah. So this is the scale going up and down.
So you see, as Sayyid mentioned, maqamat sharqi has different sensation. Yani you feel different. Of course, all 4 melodies we have done, 4 of them, they were beautiful. But especially Rast, it wakes you up. It wakes you up. So as Sayyid mentioned, in Adhan is Maqam Rast. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa Allah. Maqam Rast. So always I say Abul Maqamat, especially the character of father in a family. How strict is father in a family? Yes? Haji Mukhtar Karim, are you strict as well or not at home? No? Or it's changed? Inshallah, you're always, inshallah, director, and you are in Maqam Rast, inshallah. And your wife is Maqam Bayyati, inshallah. And the children, we have, mashallah, Maqam Segah, Kurd, and as well we have, where is the king sons? He's here, I think, Mukhtar Karim's sons. I saw him. Yeah, he is here. So, Quran in Maqam Rast. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم أعطيناك الكوثر فصل لربك وانحر إن شانئك هو الأبتر أعطيناك الكوثر فصل لربك وانحر إن شانئك هو الأبتر صدق الله العلي العظيم ربنا صل على أحمد خير المرسلين وعلى الساق على الحوض أمير المؤمنين وعلى فاطمة الزهراء أم الأكرمين وعلى السبطين والسجاد زين العابدين ربنا صل على أحمد خير المرسلين وعلى الساق على الحوض أمير المؤمنين وعلى فاطمة الزهراء أم الأكرمين وعلى السبطين والسجاد زين العابدين. By the way, I don't know, some of you might listen to some of the aghani, musical aghani. Like for example, in Arab music, I'm sure Haider will definitely know about this. Al-Hubb Kulli, I don't know Haider. Kulthum. Umm Kulthum was reciter of the Holy Quran as well, because her father was reciter of the Holy Quran. So she has this, we call it artistic gift to the musical word. So that Al-Hubb Kulli is in Maqam, mainly in Maqam Rast. But of course it has many other melodies, but it is really shows how beautiful is Maqam Rast.
Ahsan, thank you. I'm also conscious of time, so I'm going to try and go a little bit quicker with the last three. Maqam Bayyati, so Sayyid just recited on Maqam Rast. Rast and Bayyati are probably the two, if I'm not mistaken, most popular maqams, especially with the Egyptian school of Quran reciting. These two are the most popular, especially in Egypt. So Maqam Bayyati gives you feelings of femininity, love, joy, vitality. In Arabic we use the word shajan, which is an emotional sadness, or a lovely sad, if that makes sense. And I've given some examples here. So we've got very popular nasheed like nasheed Qamarun, or Inna fi Jannah Nahran al-Laban, which is itself a song from the period of Andalusia when it was Muslim Spain. So, and also I put here the Ali Mawla that we recite is also on this maqam, Maqam Bayyati. So I'll play you a little bit of Bayyati. So because of the shortage of time, so I'm going to recite Maqam al-Bayyati. As mentioned, Bayyati is maqamaat, the mother of melodies, with respect to all of our mothers, because how important is your role? Even in the recitation of the Holy Quran, the reciters, they start with Maqam Bayyati and they finish with Maqam Bayyati. So without you, the men, they cannot live. So you have to be very proud of yourself, ladies especially. And the man as well, you are the head, the director. We are proud of you as well. Salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إنا أعطيناك الكوثر فصل لربك وانحر. شانئك هو الأبتر. فصل لربك وانحر. إن شانئك هو الأبتر. صدق الله العلي العظيم. اللهم صل وسلم وزد وبارك على all together وآله الأطهار جميعا على قمر سيدنا النبي قمر وجميل 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 سيدنا النبي وجميل قمر 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 سيدنا النبي قمر وجميل 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 سيدنا النبي وجميل. This as well مقام البياتي. And as well as Sayyid mentioned إن في الجنة نهرا من لبن. Bayati has many branches. Like for example, إن في الجنة نهرا من لبن. Bayati mixes with Rast, which becomes what? Bayati al-Hussein or Maqam al-Husaini. Or Ali Ali Mawla. That is Bayati mixed with Hijaz. We have Maqam Shuri. So Bayati is very, actually, if you listen to Qira'at of Mustafa Ismail, he's reciting maybe, if the recitation is, for example, 50 or maybe 50 minutes or 1 hour, he's reciting about 25 minutes Maqam al-Bayati. Different furu'at, different branches of Maqam al-Bayati. Thank you very much.
Ahsan, thank you. Last two, just bear with. Can we just get a loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad? So this is Maqam Sabaa. This is traditionally in Arabic music known as the sad maqam. So you'll hear it now, and there's no other words for me to describe except sadness and pain. This is used again a lot in the Maqtal of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. This is what allows you to cry. So why is it, imagine they read the Maqtal of Imam al-Hussein and Maqam Ajam. No one would cry because you don't feel it. There's a reason why people will sit there and cry when they read it, because they use this maqam. So I will play a little bit on the oud and then pass over to Sayyid.
You feel like you cry, especially at this occasion of the martyrdom of Lady Fatima al-Zahra, salamullah alayha. So with Quran, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إنا أعطيناك الكوثر فصل لربك وانحر إن شانئك هو الأبتر صدق الله العلي العظيم. السلام فاطمة الزهراء يا سيدة نساء العالمين يا قرة عين الرسول يا سيدتنا ومولاتنا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيهة عند الله اشفعي لنا عند Allah. So we could actually feel the sadness of these days and nights, especially Hassanain and Zainabain, what they are feeling because they are losing their mom, Lady Fatima Zahra, Salamullah alayha. Ahsantum Mawlana.
Ahsan Sayyidina. So now I hope, now we're at the tail end, I've got one more, but I hope up until this point you're now starting to see the effects of the maqam in our daily lives as Muslimin. Whether we go to a majlis, whether we're reciting Quran, whether we go to Eid prayer, all of these things play such a big role in our life, but I feel like we're unaware of it, which is kind of the whole point of why I'm doing this talk. I come on to the last maqam, which is Maqam Segah, which I spoke about earlier, the third maqam. Technically it's called Maqam Hijaz, but it's called Segah. I need to sit for a longer time to explain why. But in Egypt it's called Segah, and other parts of the Middle East it's called Hijaz, but they're the same thing. So Maqam Segah gives us feelings of the old days, ancient religious songs. Think of things like Tala al-Badru alayna or Asma Allah al-Husna. Just quick side fact, who here, show of hands, who knows Nas'aluka ya man huwa Allahu alladhi? You know the Asma Allah al-Husna? Yes, no, yeah? The man that you see here on the left, his name is Sheikh Sayyid Makkawi, who is an Azhari Sheikh who later went into the field of music and became one of the most popular Arabic composers and composed for, you know, Kulthum and Warda and a lot of Arabic singers. He's the one who actually composed Asma Allah al-Husna. So we've heard it a lot on YouTube and, you know, a lot of, you know, religious groups and nasheed groups, but the original person who made it was this musician here, Sayyid Makkawi, which we can give a small rendition after, but I'll play a little bit on the scale. This is Maqam Segah. This Maqam is very, like I said, I played Tala al-Badr. This was around in the time of our Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And this Maqam was used for Tala al-Badr alayna. Until today, for those of you who've been blessed enough to go to Mecca and Medina for Hajj or Umrah, and if not, inshallah, Allah writes it for all of us ajma'een. But you see in Hijaz, Sayyid, their call to prayer is in Maqam Segah in a Hijazi style. Till today, you hear in Mecca and Medina, they're called to prayer there. They read on this scale because this is the scale that was prevalent from the time of our Holy Prophet. So I pass over to you, Sayyidina.
Okay, Maqam Segah or Maqam Segah, as Sayyid mentioned, is Maqam of happiness mainly. So طلع البدر علينا. So I'm reciting with Quran, Surah Al-Kawthar, and then inshallah part of طلع البدر علينا inshallah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. فصل لربك وانحر إن شانئك هو الأبتر. صدق الله العلي العظيم. يا رسول الله يا جد الحسين، يا رسول الله يا جد الحسين، كن شفيعي يا إمام القبلتين. من له جد كجد المصطفى، من له جد كجد المصطفى أحمد المختار نور النيرين. طالع البدر علينا من ثنيات الوداع، وجب الشكر علينا ما دعا لله داعا. طالع النور المبين نور خير المرسلين، نور أمن وسلام، نور حق ويقين.
Allah, Allah, Allah. Ahsantum Sayyidina.
أحسن الله.
Thank you guys for bearing with and your patience. We've come to the end of all 8. I'm just going to wrap up now. But I hope you've seen how each of these individual ones we've applied them. And I like Sayyid that you used the same verse in the Quran and showed the different styles. And it's changed so much of the time of the Holy Prophet. Like I said, this was only standardized 100 years ago, and all these names were 100 years ago. So all of this stuff in the standard form we see today is only really 100 years ago. I think things were here dotted there and there a few hundred years ago. But this is very modern and how things have adapted. And we've seen how all 8 of these maqams that are used in the Holy Quran is also used in the Oud. And for me, if I was to compose a sad song, I would use maybe Maqam Sabaa. And if I come now and somebody gives me some poetry or something to make a song, a happy song, I know now maybe I want to use Maqam Ajam. So it's the same theory that's used for both. So just to wrap up now, the Islam and musical concepts. So the use of musical concepts exists within Islam, and these includes things like reciting salah, using maqams, reciting Quran and nasheeds, which we've seen, the call to prayer, Mawlid Nabawi, celebrating the arrival of the Prophet to Medina, and Sufi spinning dovecots. So we see all of these Islamic concepts that use the maqam and musical concepts that we've discussed today. So Final slide. Islam and music are not mutually exclusive. So I hope you guys are awake enough to remember the first slide where they were separate. I hope from what we've presented to you today that we can see that there is an overlap between both, and they can coexist in a respectful and in a nice way. If done correctly, they can exist together. I put a screenshot here, really nice, from TikTok of Sheikh al-Minshawi, and this is literally how it shows up on the TikTok. It says Sheikh Minshawi Maqam Bayyati, and I've put on the top right the notation for the same scale Maqam Bayyati. So here you truly feel his emotions. Yes, Sheikh Minshawi recites Bayyati beautifully, but this shows the musical notation for Maqam Bayyati, and this is the Qur'anic recitation of Maqam Bayyati. And in the middle it shows that, yes, Islam and music can coexist. So I hope you believe me now, Mama. Thank you. Jazakumullah alaf khair. Thank you very much. So just some final thoughts and questions. So I open the floor to the brothers, to the sisters, to anybody here really that might have any questions regarding what we discussed today. So take it away.
Thank you very much. Brothers and sisters, I know it's running quite late. We're just going to take a couple of questions if there are any, and then we can have some further discussion a bit later as well.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam.
Thank you for this beautiful recitation. We've never heard anything like this. I think it was a very big eye-opener. Now, I'd just like to ask, you playing the guitar, have you been allowed to go into mosques to play guitar? Because some mosques, I've got a very fundamentalist view, that no guitar, no music, no drums, nothing. And, you know, it's nice that these people allow you, but other mosques, they would kick up a fuss. And obviously you're a very good professional man. And where do you play all this music? You've got to keep it into practice. Where? So we can all come and join you and support you. Maybe you can do something for Gaza. We'll all pay money for you.
Thank you very much, sister. It's a great question. Firstly, I should have introduced at the beginning, but the name of the instrument is the oud. It's the grandfather of the guitar. So this is one of the oldest instruments in the world. This made its way from the Middle East into Europe through Muslim Spain, and it became, if you guys have seen these old paintings of Henry VIII, there's a very similar looking instrument called a lute, and the word lute came from oud, and then afterwards they added frets and it became guitar, which originates from the Arabic word qithara. So this is the grandfather of the guitar. So to answer your question, sister, I did a lecture like this this time last year in Dar al-Islam, and to say that they kicked up a fuss is an understatement. It caused a massive storm to the point where I was told on the day that I can carry on the lecture without the instrument. I said I'll rather cancel. So the reason why I'm doing this, sister, is to show that there is a clean side to music, there is an academic side, there is an intellectual side to music. And funny enough, a lot of the advancements of music came during the Abbasid or the Islamic Golden Age. This instrument, a lot of the, like I said, the form of music that we know came with intelligence and intellect and things like that. So because music is a very gray area, I'm trying to highlight the green side of it or the clean side of it. And obviously there's another side, but that's like anything. That's like with our mobile phones, that's like with our laptops, that's like with our TVs. If you use something correctly for a good purpose, it can be good. So Sayyid, if you want to answer the second part
Definitely,
well.
as you mentioned. So like using internet is halal or haram, or using knife. I always mention this. If I use knife for sacrificing an animal, it is halal, definitely. And if I kill a person, so it is haram. So it depends how you want to use it. With guitar, if you play for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if you play for Ahlul Bayt, if you play for your country, it is definitely halal. But it depends on your niyat, and your intention. How do you want to use it? You're welcome.
Brilliant lecture, brilliant, fantastic knowledge. Can I ask you a simple question? In Sahel region of Africa, what maqam do they use in Mali, Niger and Chad? And the second question related to that, Bulgaria and Romania have a lot of gypsy music. What maqam do they use?
Can I take the Romanian one and you take the African one?
Okay, good.
So, very interesting, very short history lesson. A lot of the gypsy community that we see are actually Indian by origin. They originate from India. So they originate from India, and they were a dancing and singing community, and they made their way through the Middle East, and some of them stopped in Iraq, and they became known as Kauliya in Iraq. The Kauliya, or the Gypsy community, are originally from India, and they made their way even into Spain, and they started the flamenco movement called Gitano.
Yeah, Gitanos.
Gitano music. Gitano is Gypsy.
Yes.
So they came and they bought a lot of, even the clothes that they wear. The original, if you see the original flamenco, it looks like a sari. So if you go to the south of Spain and see, not the ones that the modern ones we see today with the flary red, the original dance that they do, and they unravel I don't know the technical terms, I'm not a sari expert, sorry, but you know, it's based on Indian and the Indian subcontinent clothes. So the Gypsy music actually uses a lot of Indian-inspired, it's more raga than I would say maqams. So that's for the Romanian Gypsy side. And this is our African expert, Sayyid Jalal.
African, especially Tanzania, especially Zanzibar, it's my favorite place. So, you know, I think I mentioned about the maqamat, about the melodies before here. You know, maqamat is exactly like colors. You know how many colors we have in the nature, yes? When we say blue, this blue has different variations, or
Shapes,
green has different shapes of variations. So each, for example, Sabaa is everywhere, and Bayyati is everywhere. But sometimes we hear, maybe for example, Hijaz, Turkey, because the sense of Turkey, I mean the Turkish culture enters. It is the same Hijaz, but in the Turkish actually a theme, in the Turkish taste. It has Turkish taste. Or for example, when you go to Africa, like for example, one recitation is very famous. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إنا أعطيناك الكوثر فصل لربك وانحر إن شانئك هو الأبتر. This is actually Rast, but because it went to that area, it's called Rast Ubaidi. They give it a name, Rast Ubaidi. But it's proper Rast, but because they have recited there, it's Rast. For example, Maqtal of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein is actually a mixture of Rast, Bayyati, and Ajam. So that's the reason it's Tor al-Maqtal, they call it, for example, in Iraq. Or if you hear in Iraq, there are different Tor, they call it Tor. It's not actually a specific maqam different from the maqamat al-asli. It is part of maqamat al-asli, because today we mentioned just maqamat al-asli, eight main melodies, but each of them, when they have maqamat al-far'iyya, sub-melodies. For example, Bayyati has different scales, Hijaz has different scales, qarar, jawab, and jawab. But each of them, they have different actual flavor or taste. And as well, the last thing is maqamat al-murakkab. We didn't cover maqamat al-murakkab when you mix two main melodies together. Like for example, Bayyati with Hijaz becomes maqam al-shuri. Bayyat Ras becomes maqam al-Husayni. Bayyat and for example Nahawand becomes maqam ushaq Misri, for example. These are the compound melodies. Maybe you hear something that it is not maqam Bayyati, it is not completely maqam, for example Ras, it's not completely Bayyati, but it's in between. That is the compound one. Yes? Afwan. For morning, so you should knew this many years before now. Warsh, okay, good question. Warsh is not maqam. Warsh is a way of recitation, because you know in the recitation of the Holy Quran we have different riwayat. In Arabic it's called riwayat, but in English it's called narrations. We have, as we have, for example, mainly we believe in number 7 maqam. It is actually 7 plus 1. 7 suni'a bi sahar plus kaf, which is Kurd, suni'a bi sihrik. But in the recitation as well, we have 7 main reciter, and each reciter has 2 narrators. For example, the one you say Warsh is from Nafi, Warsh an Nafi. And another way is Qalun, for example. Or for example, the way we recite, which is very common, is Hafs an Asim. Another one is Shu'ba an Asim. So these are the riwayat. It's called narrations. It's completely different from maqamat. Each of them, they have different tajweed. Rules of recitation, yes.
We're just going to take two last questions. We'll take them together if that's okay, and then if we can have short answers, that'll be great.
Thank you very much for an excellent lecture. You mentioned that some of the maqamat are more popular in some regions than others. So, for example, Nahawand is quite popular in the India-Pakistan region, Ajam, the Western region. I was just curious to know why that is. Is it a reflection of the instruments that are in these regions? Does it reflect something else? For example, the personality or the energies of these regions as well? So that's the first bit. And the second one is I'd be interested to know which maqamat are popular in the Far East Asian areas, Indonesia, Malaysia.
Okay. Do you want to take the second part first?
Good. First of all, each maqam, as I mentioned, for each maqam we have a region. We have a region for maqam. It doesn't mean that those specific country or those specific place, say you can add, but if you want to. Okay. We don't say, for example, when we say Maqam Nahawand is made by Indians. No, Maqam Nahawand is recited mainly in that area. Or for example, do we have any person from Iraq? We have Iraqi people here. For example, Iraq is famous because of Maqam Sabaa, because Sabaa is recited mainly in Iraq. Even if you listen to music, when we see Aghani, the majority of them either they are Sabaa or Sabaa Zamzam. That is the taste of or nature of this area. Or for example, in Azerbaijan, mainly Maqam Segah. In Persia, in Afghanistan, mainly Maqam Bayyati. So because those areas, they are very keen to that maqam because of, for example, tragedies we had in Iraq, tragedy of Karbala, tragedy of Imam Hussein, and as well Imam Ali, some all A'imma. That's the reason this land is sad. So normally they recite in sad melody. That is, or for example, Ajam. It's non-Arab actually. Ajam is non-Arab, mainly in Persia. Or in Iraq, sometimes they call it Maqam Kharij, because it's Ajam. So that's the thing. Each area takes the melody which is close to their feeling. This happens as well in the riwayat. Each area takes the riwayat which is close to their pronunciation. Like for example, قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ النَّاسِ, not nas. Or imala. It's too much imala, which is inclination in North Africa. For example, Warsh, as our brother asked, it's too much in North Africa, in Morocco, in Egypt. They're reciting mainly in maqam, in riwayat Warsh. And as well, the maqam is famous. For example, India is famous that they are singing or reciting in Maqam Nahawand. Sayyidina, you can complete, sorry.
Just to come on your point. Firstly, today we went over 8 maqams, which I said 4 are quarter tone and 4 without quarter tone. The presence of the quarter tone already eliminates 4 maqams from being used in any other part of the world, because they don't really use that note. It doesn't exist due to the instruments. And in the last 100 years, when the East met the West, whether that's through colonialism, whether that's through exchange of culture, there was cross mixing. But mainly, the Arab world wanted to take from the West, especially in the music field. They wanted to organize everything and start using notation. And so Nahawand and Ajam and all of these stuff started being adopted more as they started mixing more with the Western world. So it makes sense as to like why in the West they wouldn't use Segah or Rast or Bayyati or Sabaa. And also, it's each culture's interpretation of sadness. In the West, Nahawand is sad, because in the West it's only Ajam and Nahawand. So for a Westerner, Nahawand means sad. But for an Arab, Sabaa means sad. For somebody else, whatever means sad. So it's culture also plays a big role. So I hope that answers your question.
Final question, Fatima.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you very much for your guys' talk. I have a request rather than a question. If you would play Talal Badr as a duet, please.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
it's an easier question.
We have another member of our group as well. So Abbas, come here forward, please.
Abbas, you can't be in the
audience. Abbas is part of our
come.
Nasheed group as well.
Yeah.
No, you're good. Come. Just your presence. I need your presence, please. Can we have a chair for Abbas, please? Sorry. Come. Assalamu alaikum. It's because you didn't come to the session. So it's because he didn't come to the session. So you have to bring.
He's waking up for it.
Okay. Feel better? Yes. Don't need anything. Ready?
Yallah.
شرفت المدينة مرحبا يا خير داء طلع البدر علينا من ثنيات الوداع وجب الشكر علينا
Thank you very much. Most beautiful way to end. Muhammadin wa al Muhammad salawat.
Inshallah, when we have the main hall of Salam Center, yes, Salam Center, inshallah, definitely we will have a good opening, and we will have, inshallah, Irham Nasheed group. We will recite, inshallah, for you many Nasheed, inshallah. Salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Ala Muhammad wa ali. We thank you, all of you. May Allah reward you, and inshallah, please do not forget us in your prayers, and inshallah, your support of the Quran, and as well this musical aspect of the Holy Quran, inshallah, for all of you. It is highly recommended to, inshallah, follow this introduction and information as Haider mentioned to you. Thank you very much.